What if the person you loved most simply disappeared not once, but twice, and they returned both times as a shell of a person? That kind of disappearance rips through the soul, leaving families shattered and investigators on edge. This is a chilling, unresolved, unsolved mystery drawing us into true events that still defy explanation. She vanished in broad daylight, then vanished again behind closed doors to disappearances that defy simple explanation. This case drips with evidence that seems to evaporate, as if hidden by a criminal mind playing its own twisted game. Real footage of her frantic last steps only deepens the disturbing dread. Her first disappearance came with a flurry of psychological alarms. Phone calls from unknown numbers, cryptic doodles found in her notebook, and a diary entry that speaks of watching eyes. Investigators combed through surveillance, yet the hidden truth remains buried beneath layers of stone-cold facts. Every clue peeled back another layer of dread. When she turned up again, the world expected relief, but what emerged from that reappearance was even more unnerving. Strange bruises, conflicting stories, and a haunted look in her eyes told of more than simple abduction. The real events, captured on shaky home videos, paint a portrait of torment that chills the soul. Among flickering CCTV frames, investigators spotted blurred figures, possible abductors, but their identities remain a ghostly mystery in the case file. The vanished, returned, and vanished again. Narrative rattles credulity and demands answers. Every forensic test, every fiber analysis has failed to offer a clearer picture. Her family's grief is a private horror, unspoken and raw. They live with the ache of not knowing whether this was abduction, coercion, or something more sinister. Meanwhile, detectives pore over every detail, desperately trying to map the evidence to a suspect. There were no ransom notes, no clear motive. Nothing to tether this nightmare to reality, only voids where explanation should be. Forensic psychologists have studied her behavior and found traces of trauma so deep that her own memories seem unreliable. This slow-burning suspense tightens its grip on anyone who dares to listen. Historical parallels offer little comfort. Other cases of multiple vanishings are vanishingly rare and often end in tragedy. But this case stands apart. It remains unsolved, with no closure in sight. Every passing day adds to the dread as an ordinary life fractures under the weight of unspoken horrors. In court records, one interrogated suspect invoked vague claims of protecting her. But those words unravel under scrutiny, revealing dark psychological manipulation. The transcript reads like a confession by omission, loaded with double meaning and silent threats. True crime aficionados call it one of the most disturbing dialogues ever recorded in a missing person case. Now, as we press deeper into this labyrinth of trauma and secrecy, a startling discovery is about to rewrite everything. A forensic re-examination of a discarded fingerprint threatens to topple the official narrative and sends shockwaves through the case. What that print reveals will haunt both family and investigators alike. The fingerprint belonged to someone who was never on the suspect list. No prior connection to the victim. No reason to have been near her except during the hours she was missing. Police scrambled to re-interview witnesses, but many memories had already faded. Time had eroded the sharp edges of recall, leaving only fragments. And fragments rarely lead to convictions. A neighbor claimed to have seen her walking with a man in a dark jacket. But the CCTV footage from that street, missing, deleted from the city's archive as part of an unrelated system update. Digital forensics experts tried to recover the lost footage, but what they found instead was far stranger, a corrupted file showing only static and a faint silhouette. The image was too distorted for positive identification, yet the outline matched the neighbor's description. In both vanishings, there was a constant: her phone. The device always reappeared with her, intact, but stripped of all recent call logs and messages, as if someone knew exactly what to erase. Investigators sent the phone to a specialized lab, where technicians uncovered ghost data, bits of deleted text that referenced meeting spots, coded in cryptic phrases. Same corner as last time, read one. No one will notice, read another. This opened the door to a terrifying theory. Her second disappearance might have been voluntary, but under the grip of coercion. Psychological experts called it a textbook case of control through fear. But who held that control remains unanswered. The more detectives dug, the more her life before the first disappearance seemed to unravel. A sudden change of friends, an unexplained withdrawal from social activities, and a lingering dread she never spoke aloud. Friends later admitted they'd noticed a man following her after class, sometimes waiting outside in a parked car. They never got the license plate. And now, years later, they can't even agree on the car's color. Then came the revelation that froze everyone in the room. A witness from the first disappearance had been living under a false name, and the reason they hid their identity connects directly to a violent crime from decades earlier. The witness now unmasked had served time for a brutal assault, eerily similar to the victim's injuries after her first disappearance. It was a crime marked by manipulation, confinement, and psychological torment. Details he never disclosed to police during his helpful statements. His criminal file revealed an obsession with control, cataloged in chilling handwritten journals. Pages filled with lists of names, meeting places, and phrases like test of loyalty. One name was hers. When confronted, he denied ever knowing her before the disappearances. But investigators found a single photo tucked into one of his old notebooks, her face circled in red ink. The photo predated the first disappearance. Detectives began to suspect the vanishings were rehearsed planned events that blurred the line between abduction and compliance. It was a theory no one wanted to believe, but it explained the haunting sameness between her two reappearances. Survivor advocates pointed to a pattern common in long-term psychological captivity. Victims returning physically free but mentally shackled. The bruises. The conflicting timelines. The silences that spoke louder than words. A second search warrant uncovered something unexpected: Dan old camcorder hidden in the witness's attic. Inside were tapes labeled with dates that matched key points in her timeline. Some of the tapes had been deliberately scratched, their footage destroyed.
One tape survived. On it, muffled voices discussed the next time, as if rehearsing an event. The woman's voice is faint but terrified. Investigators have never publicly confirmed whether it was hers. The footage reignited public interest, and with it, online sleuths began digging. They found connections between the witness and other missing women from the same region. Women who never came back. Police quietly reopened at least 2 of those cases. Files long thought to be cold were suddenly active again. The shadow of a possible serial offender began to creep over the entire investigation, and then without warning, the key witness disappeared. No trace, no struggle, no goodbye. Just like her, he had vanished into thin air. The disappearance of the prime witness sent the investigation spiraling. Without him, the fragile link between the 2 vanishings began to fracture. Detectives were left chasing shadows in a case already built on them. 2 weeks later, an unmarked envelope arrived at the local precinct. Inside was a single photograph. The victim and the witness, together, in what appeared to be a motel room, both looking directly into the camera. The timestamp on the photo was dated 1 week before his disappearance, which meant that at least for a brief moment they were together again. Voluntarily or not, was anyone's guess. A grainy motel security log showed them checking in under false names. No footage showed them leaving. The room was later found scrubbed clean, with bed sheets and trash removed before housekeeping arrived. Theories erupted: were they captor and captive, or partners in a larger hidden scheme? The psychological complexity deepened, leaving even seasoned profilers unsure. Every possibility was darker than the last. Meanwhile, new forensic testing on the old camcorder tape revealed faint background sounds: a train horn, specific to a line that ran only in one remote part of the state. Search teams scoured the area for weeks. There, they found a burned-out shack deep in the woods. Beneath the ash were personal effects belonging to both of them, but no human remains. Forensic analysts determined the fire was intentional, started with accelerants. Someone had wanted to erase the past, literally. The shack's remote location suggested only someone familiar with the area could have led them there. To this day, neither the woman nor the man has been found. Their case remains one of the most disturbing, unsolved true crime mysteries in recent history. Families, detectives, and online sleuths alike are still trapped in its unanswered questions. And perhaps the most haunting detail? In the very last frame of that surviving tape, just before the audio cuts, a woman's whisper is heard. This time she says, "Don't let me come back."